Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge, and welcome to Keeping Relevant. On June 24th, we're going to have a primary election for Democrats to select a new candidate for mayor of New York City. There will be 11 names on the ballot, and one will be selected, but only for the second time in a new way called ranked choice voting. It's different, and it's complicated, and I've asked my good friend Helen Rosenthal, my former city council member and the greatest explainer I know, to join me to help go through this whole description. So welcome, Helen.
Thank you so much. I like that moniker.
Oh, good. You're a good explainer, right?
I'm a good explainer.
Definitely. So it's not a new phenomenon.
No, I mean, no, not at all. It's like 100 years old, the idea itself. The idea of ranked choice voting is twofold. One is to take out all the negativity in campaigns. You know, when you see those ads on TV that are fear-mongering and there are half-truths in them, right? In order to get rid of that, what this says is, among all the candidates, you're going to be able to choose up to 5. And for that reason, candidates don't go after each other because they want to be ranked high on your ballot. And if they go after somebody who you have ranked number 1, it makes them look really terrible. So what is it?
But is this the time for me to say that hasn't happened this year?
Oh,
that we now have 4 candidates that have promised to vote for each other and that urge you not to vote for a specific candidate.
There are always shenanigans, aren't there?
There are.
In politics.
And it's disquieting. It's very difficult in this race. I didn't mean to interrupt your
No, that's
brief
all right. Let's
explanation.
put a pin in that and come right back to it because it's so important what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the idea is to let people vote their conscience, to vote for what you really believe in, not the lesser of two evils.
Pick your favorite color.
The ranked choice voting way.
Instead of voting for just one color, you get to rank your top 3.
Well, purple is the best, but if I can't have purple, I want blue. And if neither of those wins, I guess I can live with orange.
Now, let's count up everybody's votes.
Under ranked choice voting rules, it's not enough just to get the most votes. You need a majority.
More than 50% of the votes.
Purple's ahead, but it has only 7 votes.
It needs at least 11 to win.
So we eliminate the color in last place.
Sorry, Orange fans, we're going to your second choice.
2 more for green.
1 for purple.
But no color has 11 votes yet.
Still no majority.
Bye-bye,
blue.
1 more for purple.
4 for green.
And we have a winner.
The ranked choice voting way.
On one ballot, you get to choose 5 people, basically saying if your first choice doesn't get selected, it's okay, here's my second choice person. And maybe even if that person doesn't get selected, maybe my third choice will win. The key is, and this gets to your point about negativity still in the race, is that you don't want to rank anyone who you just don't want to see as mayor. And if we can get specific for a second, in this last election in 2021, where about 850,000 people voted, okay? People ranked choice. But when I talk to voters today, they say, you know, I didn't love Eric Adams, so I ranked him 5th.
And he got elected.
And he got elected by 8,000 votes. That's the kicker. So if you don't want someone, don't put them on your ballot
At
at
all.
all.
So tell me where it has been used for years.
Well, Maine and Alaska.
Are they always municipal elections?
No, they use it statewide. So for them, it's a state law. For New York City, voters in 2019 chose to change the New York City charter so that in our municipal elections, all of them, right? So it's mayor, controller, public advocate, city council, and borough president. There's ranked choice voting.
I mean, there's ranked choice voting in each council district,
Yes.
but they only get 4,000 or 5,000 votes.
Well,
And
that's
Yeah, sometimes there aren't that many candidates, yeah.
such a good point.
Yeah.
Here's a way to think about it. If somebody wins with 30% of the vote, that means 70% of people did not want that candidate. And in ranked choice voting, you have to get to 50%.
So it's
For a
combining
president.
a runoff
Correct.
to a regular election.
That's a big benefit. You save the cost and the time of a runoff because somebody is going to get to 50%. And again, in the example of 2021, in the first round, Adams had the most. He maintained that lead throughout, but Maya Wiley was second. And more people ranked Catherine Garcia, who was third, number 2 or 3, so that in the final round, she moved up to second place. Interestingly, there were 3 city council races where the person who got the most first choice made it on the first ballot for first choice,
Right.
did not win. Somebody came from behind and overtook them. In 3 of the city council races, in one district, it went to 13 rounds.
But you need then a lot of candidates, or several, more than 2.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes,
And
of
if there are
course.
only 2 candidates,
Somebody's going to get it on the first round because
even if they don't have a majority.
well, you'll get rid of the write-ins. You know, you have to get to 50%. I think your example or your concern, I've not heard of that happening, but I see where you're going with that.
So the ballot comes to you?
Yes. Same as always, there's, you can ask for a mail-in ballot. There will be early voting for 10 days, and a lot of people do vote in early voting, not enough. More people could take advantage of that, but most people still vote on
But you have
election
to go to
day.
a polling place unless you
Yeah.
have an absentee ballot, which
Correct.
you mail in.
And interestingly, this is so confusing, but for early voting, it's often in a different location
Oh, then you're on.
than your usual voting spot. So the Campaign Finance Board is in charge of sending all this information to voters. So they send this information out to every registered voter, telling them where their early vote location is and their
But they're
day
going to
of.
have to read it.
Indeed. And they're going to have to get it in a language that they can read. Another very big problem, especially in New York City, 157 different spoken languages.
But you have to be a citizen.
Of course,
They
that
just-
always.
They defeated, or was it the courts that threw out the legislation?
So that is true. In 2021, the City Council voted to allow non-citizens to vote. Green card holders. And that was thrown out, challenged and thrown out by the courts. That's right.
Something. So there was a study the end of last year the ranking of percentage of the population that votes?
What I find so amazing, there are over 5 million people who could register to vote in New York City,
Yeah.
right? And 90%, something like 4.7 million, have indeed registered to vote. That you would think that's a
a
very
lot of
big
people.
number, a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, in New York State, we have a closed party system, which means that the only way you can vote in the Democratic primary or in the Republican Party is if you select that party when you register to vote. And 3 million people have chosen Democrat, about 1 million have chosen Republican, which leaves nearly 1 million people who are left out of voting in the primary because they registered as an independent, of Working Families Party, or, and this is the majority of people, just leave it blank. So yes, they vote in the general, and that's great, and a higher percentage of people do vote in the general, but in this last round in 2021, only 26% of registered voters, under 1 million, chose to vote in the Democratic primary.
It goes to our education too, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
You've had experience with that.
Well, I mean, yes. When I was in the council, in my first year, actually, you had suggested to me that we have more civic engagement by high school students. And it turns out, like, yeah, it was such a good suggestion. Thank you for that. And it turns out the city council cannot pass a law that requires New York City high school students to get a civic education, right? Because our education system is controlled by the state. And the state Board of Election is the one that, and Board of Education, sorry, are the ones who choose curriculum.
And they're mired in debate, right?
So many topics.
Right.
So instead, what we did as a city council was pass a resolution urging the mayor to urge his principals to include civic education. He did, interestingly, because the mayor's office was not so hot about this idea. It was different. I don't know, required work. I don't know, but they were not so hot on the idea. And they challenged me. And they said, look, Helen, if you can get kids to register to vote, if you think it's that important, we'll think about it. So, you know, challenge, we're on. And I know, but I worked with all of my colleagues in the council and got all of them. We picked a day and had them go into their high school with a neutral, you know, voter education group like Citizens Union or NYPIRG does it as well.
League of Women Voters.
League of Women Voters. They were paired with a group. They were told they couldn't campaign, right? Because
Right,
they're
but
on
they
school property,
Right.
but they could talk about the importance of voting. We did that, and on a single day registered over 10,000 kids to vote, which was so gratifying. And yes, by year 3 or 4, the mayor did start taking on Student Voter Registration Day, and the kids quite liked it, and they ask super questions, right? Like, I mean, even the toughest questions, like, does my vote count?
Yeah.
I mean, this was a big question that I remember getting from one of the high schools on the Upper West Side after the Gore versus Bush
Oh, right.
presidential. Will my vote even matter? Will it count? But it's an opportunity for people to share, yes, this is why it's so important. And one of the biggest reasons being that you should hold your electeds' feet to the fire. They said they were going to do something. You live in that area. You can call them on the carpet. You said you were going to fight for more schools in this district. Did you? Like, show me what you did. You know, you said you were going to get rid of the potholes or make sure all the street lamps worked, or bring in more affordable housing. Did you actually do it? And that, I think, is as important a responsibility for people who vote. You have to vote, and then you have to hold your electeds.
You have to follow up.
You have to follow up and hold them accountable.
You have to understand that that's the force that makes progress.
That's right. That's right. Now, look, we are in New York City, where we have a lot of immigrants who are not citizens. And it's very important that they don't register to vote, right? And so when we went around to high school, that was a talking point to say, look, you know, if you're not a citizen, we don't want you to get in trouble. But it was also an opportunity to talk to everyone about how they can engage.
It was like a civics class.
Why, yes.
Which was one of the most influential courses I ever took.
Really?
Yes, 7th grade. Herbert Evan, E-B-E-N.
There we go.
Now, explain something to me. 2 terms in the city council,
Yes.
and that's it. This was a Lauder-financed political movement by somebody who is not of the government and political area,
right.
who decided he was going to come in with his extensive knowledge, I'm being sarcastic,
Yes.
and improve the city government. And 2 terms for over half the council is not good.
Yes.
There's something wrong with our political system because it's very difficult for us to develop candidacy over a long length of time, other than a particular candidate's initiative to switch between the state government and the city government.
That's exactly right.
And we really have a screwed up way of developing good political figures.
But what happened because of that is that about 80% of the council did not turn over. They got to keep that 3rd term. And in the next council,
They all
left. So it now became, you have about 20% experienced and 80% brand new, up against a mayor who is inherently more powerful. So when the original 2-term limit was put in, it made more sense because half the council was new and half the council would have been old. Continuing, not old.
I just feel that we are not a sterling state in leadership. And our party is not a really modern party. We don't reflect a lot of the growing movements that we see around the country. And we suffer from it.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. You know, a lot of the people, so who's running for mayor this time? You're right, there are people who are currently state elected officials, but the couple of people who are city officials who have only been in their current citywide or borough-wide job for 1 term, right? They haven't served even 2 terms. Look at Ruth Messenger, for example. She served in the city council, then she ran for borough president, served 2 times. So during all that tenure, she really learned about the city and ran for mayor based on that knowledge. We don't have seasoned people like that.
We don't have any way for them to get the experience.
Correct, because of the 2 terms.
And we don't have them working in the government either. That's the other interesting, some of them do. Let's go back and touch on that we were talking about, that one of the points of
The ranked choice voting.
is that you eliminate the nastiness of campaigning. But we haven't eliminated it.
Well, this time round, there are enough candidates. There's a movement that is, I think, I could be wrong, not driven by the candidates themselves, but by sort of outside forces that are
I think
saying,
they're definitely by the candidates themselves. They would not take a pledge that anybody but if it wasn't for the candidate himself.
right. So let me say it a different way. The Working Families Party made it a condition of being on their possible slate for those candidates to agree that they would publicly say that they would not vote on, and they would encourage people not to include in their five Andrew Cuomo or Eric Adams. That's correct. And they took the pledge.
And they endorsed 4 candidates.
They ended up endorsing 4 with the thought that,
Now they're going to have to endorse before the primary
correct,
a candidate
one.
for their line.
One
Suppose
person.
if they endorse the person who doesn't win the Democratic Party primary, but they will be in a nice fix, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're chosen,
So what
because they
what
have
is
already.
the point of their strategy?
Well, yes, and I mean, one thing they could do that I personally think would make more sense is they should rank the people that they think should be mayor, 1, 2, 3, 4. I would argue add Jessica Ramos in there as 5, right? And that should be their ballot, and then they can honestly say, we're playing by the system, and here's our recommendation to Working Families Party voters. Here's the ballot that we suggest for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and go at it, right? That would be a more consistent way of doing it in my mind's eye. But I've never been a part of the Working Families Party, so I don't know what their
All
thinking
right,
is.
so now we're coming to the end of this program.
Oh.
So we're going to have a primary. You're going to be faced with a ballot with
Yes.
a lot of names. You're going to be asked to pick in a ranking order
Yes.
what your preferences are. And then it's going to take a while to count that, right?
You know, the Campaign Finance Board has it
The way that it gets done
set
very
up.
quickly.
It's done very quickly.
Right.
That's right.
And that hopefully it works out a little differently than 4 years ago, because we didn't really get a mayor that reflected a more widespread support. And I'm not sure that the system works.
And we don't know what's going to happen
Yeah.
this time round, and
It
whether
may
or not
work in a small locality better
maybe.
than
You
in
know,
a large
interestingly,
metropolitan area.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Eric Adams won the most votes in the first round, and in the end,
Right.
he got over 50%. You know, I think people should just think really hard. Number one, they should rank, right? So fill up all of the bubbles. Pick 5 people who you can believe in. You know, vote your conscience, right? You should honestly do that, because ranked choice voting gives you that opportunity to do that. And if everyone does that honestly, you know, again, even if you're ranking them number 5, do you feel comfortable with that person being your mayor? So do it correctly, and more people will be happy with the outcome.
We'll come back after the primary and discuss the results. Thank you, Helen Rosenthal.
Thank you, Ronnie. Always a pleasure to chat
you.
with you.
CUNY TV now has an app. Downloading the app will let you watch any show, including mine, at your convenience.